Hey folks, welcome to Unqualified, the fantasy football show that's been rocking dad jeans and white New Balance since the beginning of time. By popular demand, we're going to be doing our first ever mock draft, and maybe our last ever, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, it's mock draft season right now.
Season.
Hashtag SZN.
SZN. Season.
But you guys asked for it, and we're going to deliver. We're going to do one 10-man standard mock draft, and we'll let you guys know how we do.
So just a aside, Team Brady has the first slot, Team Johnson has the 5th slot, and Team Diesendorf has the 10th slot. So we space it out so we have some commentary in between each pick, and we're going to give you the hot takes on each pick and who we're going to take, where, why we're going to take them, give you all the insight.
And I'll be commentating the entire event.
He's going to be drafting at the number 10 spot, but he will be much more focused on commentating, if I had to venture, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
We got 2 experts and 1 novice. We'll give you the novice determination.
I don't know if I'd even give myself the novice.
He's got to earn that first.
Beginner designation then. Not even.
Scrub.
Baby designation. Scrub, yeah.
I pretty much go, I base my picks based on entirely feeling. Like, if they have a cool name, I'll pick them. You know?
Derek Jeter.
Remember what we said a couple pods ago? Janikowski.
Sebastian, you
Derek,
take a kicker.
Derek Jeter?
Take a kicker in like round 8.
Jimmy
Good.
Bickle. I'm actually team Jimmy Bickle, so.
And we got some. Let me name the other people in the pod. We have no idea. I'm sorry, in the mock. We have no idea who they are. But in case we say like, oh, Team Burger took a stupid pick, we have Team Ken at 2, Team Alexander 3, Team Wolcott 4, Team Novo 6, Team B, Bernhard. I don't know how to say that. Team B at 7, Team Dunn at 8, Team Shirk at 9. Some interesting last names.
If you don't know who Jimmy Bickle is, I suggest you
Get out.
Get on Google, go to the image section, and just type in Jimmy Bickle. That's JIMMYBICKLE. Jimmy Bickle. And all of your answers
You won't be
there.
disappointed.
You won't be disappointed.
All right, we got 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. We're getting there.
All right.
Wait, before we go any further, I just want to say to you listeners out there, Rob has played, I believe, 2 or 3 seasons total. He's had 2 or 3 teams in his fantasy career. This will be the first draft he's ever done.
Oh, yeah, you auto-drafted every single one.
Every single
you?
draft.
That's true.
Yeah, you weren't there for any of them.
Honestly, he might be auto-drafting this because his phone's not even out.
I think I'm going to... Oh, I forgot I had a phone. Wow.
The thing in your pocket.
Yeah, I've auto-drafted every season, and but it's actually worked out pretty well for me. I was in first place for about 3/4 of my one season that I played.
Did he?
And I almost won my entire league.
Do you remember what place he came in?
And the one he did with us, he was dead last.
I was
3 and 10.
Okay, well, look, I'm inconsistent, but sometimes
No, you're
I
consistent.
do amaze.
You're consistently bad.
No, because the other league I was
Just
in,
kidding.
I was literally in first place. I was destroying people, destroying them, and I had no idea because I didn't have the app on my phone. I was just randomly getting texts like
Change
from
your
people
lineup.
that were pissed off. Like people were asking me to sell players or exchange
lineup? What do you
players.
mean?
I don't know how it works. What do?
You
sell
trade.
them?
You trade them.
You trade them.
Yeah, you can pick up players and drop them. Yeah.
You don't sell human beings, Rob.
I thought that's how the world works.
No. So you just went from novice to really beginner mode.
I would say I wouldn't even consider myself sports. I'm not a sportsman.
All right, so Team Brady, you're picking first, and in the next 45 seconds, you get the ability to take a pick. What are you going with? What's the thought process here?
With the first pick, I think now it's down to, especially with Ezekiel Elliott getting into trouble and possibly having a suspension looming, I think you got to look at just Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson. Those are the top 2 guys. It's really a player's choice. For me personally, I like Bell just because he catches the ball a slight bit more than Johnson does. Very slight, obviously, you're splitting hairs. But he had 75 catches last year in, 12 games? Because he missed one at the end of the year because he just sat out.
12 games, yeah.
So he had 75 catches in 12 games. That's wide receiver numbers.
Pretty solid.
As a running back. So if you're in a PPR league, again, these 2 guys are both going to be studs, but I think Bell, for me, it just has a slightly higher upside as far as catching the ball. Obviously, David Johnson's a beast as well.
You really can't go wrong with either one.
Cannot go wrong.
Oh, we're starting.
Oh, that's a great sound.
Here we go.
All right, so I'm going to go Le'Veon Bell since I've been hyping him up for the past minute. And past couple weeks actually too.
Yeah,
So
you really have.
I'm gonna go for it. And now this is the worst part of having the first pick. You got to wait till the end of the second round.
I'm really
19.
excited, honestly. I can't wait to pick my first player. Like, I don't know who I'm
You're
going
not
to pick.
auto drafting.
I just don't know who I'm going to pick, and I just think it's going to be great.
Rob has probably heard of like one person on this list.
All right,
Yeah.
Odell.
Team Ken went with David Johnson 2 overall, which is those
choice.
guys are going first and second overall pretty much every single draft.
3 is where it gets interesting. Let's see what Team Alexander is thinking here. I don't even know what I would do, but
So like a couple of months ago, we're already in August. A couple of months ago, it would have been Ezekiel Elliott absolutely third, but there's been a lot of stuff going on with him in terms of off the field incidents. So he's kind of dropping on a lot of draft boards. And Antonio Brown has been third overall at ESPN for a while, but I think you go with Antonio Brown if you're going third overall.
yeah, I think there's a possibility that Zeke, you could take him and then take McFadden and just kind of ride out the suspension. That that honestly might not happen, but probably will. It's a possibility. You could do that similarly to what you did with Le'Veon Bell last year, and have a pretty good turnout, but a lot of risk because again, running backs tend to get hurt more than wide receivers do, and he might get suspended also. So
Right.
he's got a couple of red flags. This guy chose to go with Zeke Elliott though.
So Antonio Brown and then Zeke were the third and fourth. Now I got fifth.
What's your guys' opinion on Jimmy Bickle?
He's a little bit older now, and honestly, in his heyday, he was an absolute legend. He was
That's what I've heard.
he was just a no doubt starter at top 10 at his position every year. His position changed every year, but he was a stud.
All right, to go back to actual NFL players, I'm between Julio and Odell Beckham. I'm
Tough
going Odell. I think there's a lot of upside with Odell consistently. Julio was pretty hurt last year. I don't think he's played 16 games in a season for like the last 2 seasons. So a little bit of downside there for him.
And Rob's first ever fantasy football selection coming up.
Stay tuned.
3 picks. All right, so they went LaShawn McCoy number 7?
7.
Okay, and who went 6? Let's see. I'm guessing it was Julio.
Yeah, Julio went 6.
So that's pretty much a wash so far. You can expect your league to go this way. These top 6 guys are really studs. If you are feeling McCoy over, one of those wide receivers, I could see it, but you're going to expect those top 3 wide receivers and top 3 running backs to go 1 through 6.
Yeah, the strategy with taking LaShawn McCoy over Julio or Odell if you're at like 6 or 7 is because you want a bell cow back. Like LaShawn McCoy's getting all the carries there. You can probably get a stud wide receiver in the 10 to 12 range or 10 to 15 range as like a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 with upside instead of taking like a Julio or Odell.
Oh, we're so close to Rob's first pick.
So close.
How do I know when I'm up?
It'll ring for
Right,
you.
right up.
Put your volume on.
It's gonna ring.
It'll let you know.
Wait, who do I pick first? What do
That's up to you.
Wait, is there like a certain position I should pick first?
No,
It's up to you.
Shit, am I up?
make sure
No,
you
yeah,
go,
you're up. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Make sure you go wide receiver
All right.
or running back here.
Wide receiver or running back?
That's pretty much all it's on.
All right,
just-
I'm going to just pick somebody. What does the proj mean? Or
Projected.
That's their projected points for the year.
The bye is the bye week,
So
so
I
the
should just
week
pick
they have
somebody
off.
with the most projected points. I'm just going to pick Freeman.
Not necessarily.
Freeman, because he's free as a bird.
So Rob went with Devontae Freeman
actually not a bad
at
choice,
10
though.
overall, the running back from the Atlanta Falcons, which is actually a pretty good choice. He might have been able to get him
You're up again, by
a
the way.
little later.
Oh, shit.
You have 2
Because
in a
How
row
many
'cause you're
picks do I
number 10.
make? 2?
You get the first pick now in the second round, so you can go with whoever you want here.
All right, well, in that case, I'm going to go with the wide receiver, and I'm going to pick...
You can look at the guys also if you press their name. I don't know if that'll give you any indication of who you want, but
how
for some
much
people
time
it
do I
does.
have?
You have 18
Oh,
seconds.
my God.
Don't rush. Don't scroll too far down.
Yeah.
I saw him scrolling. Oh,
I
boy.
don't know it. The best ones are at the top, I guess. Oh, God, it's red.
You got 7, 6.
Nelson. No. Oh, shit. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Jordy Nelson there. That's actually not a bad choice either. I think you go with Freeman and Jordy Nelson. You're going with
Sounds like
2
a nerd.
established guys. Jordy Nelson he plays with, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the league, talent-wise. So you're looking pretty good after 2 picks. Could be a lot worse. I'll
Okay.
put it that way.
All right.
Scott, would you have gone AJ Green there?
I would have gone AJ Green there, and I probably would have loaded 2 stud wide receivers, AJ Green and maybe like a T.Y. Hilton. But Devontae Freeman, pretty solid pick for first running back.
I agree.
Running back
I'm
one.
going to give Team Rob 1 point there, getting some good feedback from the veterans.
Oh, yeah. All right, Scott's
Feel good
coming up
about
soon.
Just a little aside here. I got a call from one of my friends, or a call and then a text saying, "Can you give me some advice?" So it's pretty sweet.
Tell them to tune in.
Stay tuned.
Tell them to call in. We'll talk on if anybody wants to.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll call in.
You got to wait till you make your choice, though.
Yeah.
Are you up next?
Yep.
Oh, boy. All right, so the last couple picks have been wide receivers, and we have, well, after Rob went, we had Jordan Howard go number 12 to Team Shirk. We have A.J. Green at 13 and T.Y. Hilton 14. That's, again, pretty much a wash. There's no big surprises now, which, honestly, sometimes in a mock draft, you will see some crazy selections.
Yeah.
Like what?
So now I have the choice between, I took Odell first, and now I have Michael Thomas, Des Bryant on the board, and I could pick Gronk, Amari Cooper, Lamar Miller. What I'm going to do here is go wide receiver heavy and just take the best two players available. So Odell, to me, was the best player available. Michael Thomas, as well, is the best player available here, and the best situation. Drew Brees is that passing offense has been in the top passing offense, I think, 4 out of the last 6 years, and Michael Thomas is the number one guy now. So that's who I went with there. Now what I can do is just plug and play some running backs that I think have a lot of upside. So that's a draft strategy there. You take 2 wide receivers. You don't have to worry about wide receiver now until round 9. And I could just take running backs and maybe a quarterback if one of them lands to me there, and tight ends.
What's the order that people usually pick in? Like, you go running back and wide receiver, and then what?
Yeah, so really, you want to load up running backs and wide receivers, especially this year. You can wait on quarterbacks big time. You can wait until like round 8 to get a top-tier quarterback. You really want to go heavy with the running backs and wide receivers. You want to get like 3 of each of those in the first 6 rounds. And then you could go quarterback if one of them falls to you or something like that.
Gotcha. Team Brady's up.
Some people, like what I'm about to do, will go with the tight end early just because you got to take a good one. If you have a good tight end, there's not a lot out there. So if you get a good one, like Rob Gronkowski, then you got a nice advantage at one position. Now, right now, I'm looking at about Gronkowski, Lamar Miller, Alshon Jeffrey, Hopkins, Gurley. I took, with my first pick, who did I take? Oh, man, I'm going crazy. Oh, Le'Veon Bell. So I got a stud running back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Gronkowski, take huge upside, and then I have the next pick, first pick of the 3rd round, and I'm going to go with another running back. I'm going to go Lamar Miller, a nice safe RB2 with some RB1 upside possibly, and I'm looking at a team that has a very safe running back floor and then a very risky tight end. But if Gronk hits, I think I nailed these first.
If he stays healthy, he's a top pick, elite there. All right, so now I have 2 wide receivers as my first 2 picks, Odell and Michael Thomas. Honestly, another strategy here would be to put another top wide receiver in the flex and then really plug and play running backs later. So I can take DeAndre Hopkins, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette here, Doug Baldwin. It's actually a tough one.
While you're thinking about that, I'll just add this because when we release our top 10s, you'll notice that Lamar Miller is a little bit lower in my top 10 running backs. The reason I took him here, as opposed to a guy like Marshawn Lynch, maybe even a Todd Gurley, I took him here because I took a big risk in taking Gronk. So I want a nice safe
floor
because
there,
you don't want to lose your draft in the first 3 rounds. So if I'm putting my neck out, on the what is that? The guillotine with Gronk. Then I'm gonna need somebody safe. So I think Lamar Miller there's a nice safe choice for you, especially if you're gonna take a risk in round 1 or 2. Look for a guy that's got a high floor in round 3 and 4 because he might wind up saving you.
Yeah, Lamar Miller definitely has a higher floor than Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was a wash last year.
Yeah,
he had like 800 yards and he got all the carries, but he still couldn't run.
I'd pick him because of his name though.
Well, I just picked him. So my 3rd round pick was Todd Gurley. And the rationale there is he has a lot of upside.
Oh, shit, I'm up.
We know what he's been capable of in the past.
Now, I can't pick another wide receiver. How many do I need?
Well,
I have a running back and a wide receiver.
Yeah, well, you need 2 of each to start, and then you need one of either to be your flex player. So
the best idea is to get the most value that you can. So I would keep on taking running backs and wide receivers, and whoever has the most value there, whoever's projected the most, whoever has the best situation they're going into, is the most.
What if I just pick Aaron Rodgers right now?
You could do worse, I will say. Especially because you got 2 picks here. So you have 2 in a row because you're at the end of the round.
Oh, shit. I got 8 seconds. I'm picking Aaron Rodgers. And...
No, take your time on this one because you got a new clock. You got a fresh clock here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you got plenty of time.
So Aaron Rodgers went last pick of the third round, which is a little early for a quarterback, but still
not crazy early.
It's not crazy early.
Because the thing with having the first or last pick is you got to wait two full rounds to make your next selection after this one.
Right.
So if you wanted a top end quarterback, take him while you can because he's not going to be around next time you pick.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you're looking at a couple different high upside guys.
I'm looking at McCaffrey. I'm looking at Cooks. I think I'm going to go with Cooks because
that's a good pick.
I like a guy who knows how to cook.
And nice one.
Let's cook.
The best idea in the first couple rounds, I think you can attest this too, or if you disagree, is to take guys with high floors.
Yes.
So what that means is that statistic wise, they're not gonna shit the bed. Basically, they're not gonna get 500 yards,
no
and
donuts,
2 touchdowns.
Yep.
No donuts. Yeah, they're not gonna get you 0 points in a week. They're gonna get you at a floor 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. So they'll be serviceable at least. But they're the least risky, and that's the best idea in the first 3 rounds to do is so that you're giving yourself the biggest chance to succeed.
Yeah, I think the first 3 rounds are all about 2 things. First, obviously, like you mentioned, the high floor. Second off, you don't want to lose your league in the first 3 rounds. But
exactly.
But if it depends on your appetite for risk. If you're going to put your neck out there like I
Gronk.
did with Gronk,
Mm-hmm.
you can wind up winning your league with a pick like that. So it's
Exactly.
really about your stomach for risk. If you're playing for a ton of money, maybe guys will be a little bit more tentative about picking guys like Gronk early. And if you do make, if you say, okay, I believe Gronk will stay healthy this year, he cut out drinking in the offseason.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I believe it, but if he did,
joke.
if you believe he's going to stay healthy and he's going to, come in great shape and have a Gronk year, you might as well take that risk because there's not a lot of guys that are going to want to.
Cut out drinking pure grain alcohol. You didn't stop drinking tequila or anything else. Just that
big
one.
designation there. Yeah.
Scott's
that
up
one.
round
Distinction
4
there.
for Scott Johnson here.
All right. Okay, so I have Todd Gurley, Odell Beckham, and Michael Thomas as my first 3 picks
That's
now.
nice 3 picks.
Not bad. There's not a running back for a little while here. There's a lot of wide receivers, but what I'm going to do here is load up my flex spot with the guy with the highest upside, Allen Robinson. We know what he can do in a good year. He had 15 touchdowns and like 1,500 yards 2 years ago. Last year, he had an off year, kind of like Todd Gurley.
Yep.
But I'm taking the best player and the most upside player here so that I can get running backs later, kind of plug and play them because I'm picking in like 7 more picks again.
Yeah, you're really banking on the bounce back year. For
Yeah,
these 2 guys.
I'm a big believer in the bounce back year, regression to the mean.
All right, I'm up in a couple picks here. Now, since I went with Le'Veon Bell, Lamar Miller, and Gronk, I got to look at wide receivers here. Luckily, there's a ton of good options here for me to choose through.
Can we just say someone just took Kelvin Benjamin in the 4th round? It's way too early. Don't pick Kelvin Benjamin in the 4th round.
A little bit of a reach there.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by Meats by Dre. That's right, I said meats. Meats by Dre is a subscription service that delivers meats that are hand-beaten by Dr. Dre himself, monthly, or as often as you want. You can get it delivered every day and get a hand-beaten meat by Dre. Isn't that funny? It rhymes. Now, I want to remind you, every piece of meat that we deliver is beaten and hand-packaged by Dr. Dre himself, so you can get the skin flavors. Hand skin. Dr. Dre's hand skin. Need some capicola? Look no further. In the mood for some honey-baked ham? Meats by Dre has you covered. And every single piece of meat we deliver has our special seasoning, which is Dr. Dre's hand skin. And that's something you can't find anywhere else.
Oh, it's so gross.
So, Meats by Dre.
That might be grosser than the penny.
You gotta sign
I
up.
think it is.
All right, so now I'm looking at a couple guys I don't love at the top of this round with Edelman and Sanders. We've gone on at length about Sanders before, so I won't be taking him this year. One guy I'm definitely taking right here at this turn is going to be Terrell Pryor because I think, like we mentioned, you got that wide receiver 2 floor with possible wide receiver 1 upside, especially as the guy now with a good quarterback. So I'm taking him, no doubt. He'll be my quasi wide receiver 1 for the whole year.
And you get to pick again.
And I get to pick again. It's the best thing about this. All right. And then for my wide receiver 2, just because I already have 2 running backs and I want to make sure I'm not, discounting myself at wide receiver, I'm going to take a guy that I think is pretty sneaky good this year. I think Devontae Adams had a huge year last year.
I knew you were going to pick him.
I knew it. He's one of my guys. He finished ranked number 7 last year. And I don't see, maybe he's obviously going to take a step back from that this year. But You're looking at a solid wide receiver too there. So
He's very touchdown dependent last year too,
Very
right?
true,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, you get to play with Aaron Rodgers every week, so I have no problem starting him. Ooh, Scott just got robbed right there. A big, sneaky upside guy, I would say, Carlos Hyde. That's who I think Scott was looking at.
Yep, it was. Yes, good. All right, my other guy is still there. So what I have now is 3 wide receivers, 1 running back. So very heavy on the wide receiver, but all 3 of these guys are going to carry my team, basically. That's the expectation that I have. Todd Gurley is my running back 1 here. So really, for me, I'm going to take another running back to fill out the roster a little bit, and I'm going with Isaiah Crowell, who sneakily had a really good year last year, and his head coach in the offseason said they didn't get him the ball enough. So I think he can only go up from here. And he had like 900 yards last year.
Great offensive line, too.
And better offensive line. Bitonio, right? Who'd they get? No. Kevin Zeitler from the Bengals and Andrew Whitworth from the Bengals.
And they still have
Bitonio. They still have Bitonio, I think.
And Joe Thomas.
That offensive line is really good.
Very good. Very good.
And they have like
line.
Alex Mack as a center.
No, he went to Atlanta.
Sorry.
He's not an offensive line nerd.
Very unqualified take there.
Oh, Rob's coming up again in a couple picks. I will say, for a first-timer, he's doing pretty well here.
Not bad at all, Rob.
It doesn't seem that difficult to me. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers and whichever.
Just wait until I'm
looking at a combination of cool name and big number.
Honestly, that's how it works sometimes.
I like cool name and big number.
The key to the projections is you have to know which guys are going to outperform their projections and which guys are not going to reach them.
Right.
ESPN is not always spot on. For the most part,
more
they're
than
pretty
just
good.
the numbers. It's like, are they injured or?
And another thing to keep in mind, sorry to cut you off, is a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, who I mentioned earlier, he's projected for 140 points, and half of those are going to come in 3 random weeks that you don't know when they're coming.
Yeah.
The rest of his weeks, he's going to kill you. So he's a little bit more of like a high-risk player. Certain guys like that, especially daily fantasy guys that play like DraftKings or what's the other one? FanDuel. Players like Emmanuel Sanders can win you a week and win you a lot of money there. But as far as a season-long league, he's not someone that's going to really be consistent for you. So
another thing to think about is like if you're going to take a high-risk guy like a Gronk or like a Emmanuel Sanders, maybe if you take him, you pair him with someone that has a high floor again and is always going to statistically get you 8 points a week at a minimum, instead of like potentially a 1 point week like one of those guys can get, then you're having a pretty good pairing there.
Did I pick 2 wide receivers or 2 running backs already?
You have 2
wide receivers.
Okay, so I should pick another running back.
So Rob's team, for the listeners out there, is Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Freeman. Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. Okay. Devontae Freeman as a running back. Ty Montgomery from Green Bay as a running back. Jordy Nelson from Green Bay as a wide receiver. And then Brandon Cooks, New England wide receiver. Pretty full built-out roster. And you have another pick.
So now you're looking at best player available here, either a running back or a wide receiver, I'd say, to play in your flex starting
Another
spot.
one?
Yeah, because you have 2
You got to load them up.
You got to load them up.
Oh, okay.
You got 20 seconds. You got time.
I'm going to go with Ware.
Not a bad choice.
Spencer Ware from Kansas City. Good
Spencer
choice.
Ware.
I kind of like his team. Not going to lie.
Yeah, your team's pretty good.
I mean,
it looks good right now. We're not going to know until the end of the season. But
Yeah.
I think right now
is
I would
this
trade my
real?
whole team for your whole team.
No,
This isn't real.
This is a mock draft.
But do I get to keep this team and watch it till the end of the
No, you don't.
No, it's just like it's basically it's practice.
He's getting attached.
Shit. Never going to get this opportunity again.
All right, so we went Ty Montgomery, Spencer Ware at the turn. That's 2 guys that became starters last year and did pretty well with their opportunity. 2 guys that are a little bit riskier because you don't know if they're going to stick, but if they do, they could be solid running back too. So I think you have a pretty good stable running backs right now.
What we're seeing with NFL teams in general is they're going to more committee running back approaches. So that means that more than one guy is going to get the carries throughout the year, which is not good for fantasy, right? Because you have 2 guys splitting carries, you're splitting the points there. But there's a lot to be said for taking a running back that has the 75% of the calories.
He's eating a lot of calories.
He's good.
You got a lot of energy.
You gotta eat good. It's like Cook. If you have Cook and then you have a guy that eats a lot, he gets a lot of calories.
Cooks.
Your team is set. That's one advantage. You get Cook to cook the food, and then the other guy who's got a lot of calories to eat it.
But if you're taking a guy that has 75% of the carries, you have an advantage there.
If you have one guy that has 75% of the calories, That's not good distribution. You want to break up the calories between a few of your players rather than just have one guy who's just eating all of the. Yeah, you know how it goes.
All right, so round 6, pick 6.
Ooh, this is a Scott pick. Right
I went
here.
with Eddie Lacy on Seattle Seahawks running back. So now I have 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers, which is typically how I like to do it, and then wait on quarterbacks and tight ends. You kind of want to load up with the most value there. And I felt like Lacy, he has 75% of the carries. He's going to have 75% of the carries. Maybe calories too, because he's a little overweight. But he'll be the leader of that backfield, and they're trying to get back to a running game.
I just want to go back to the calorie thing. If you have Donovan McNabb, his mom makes all of the Campbell soup.
Oh, yeah.
So
Good commercials.
If you get Devontae Cook, is that the right name?
Brandon
Oh,
Cooks.
Brandon Cook.
Cooks with an S.
Oh, Jesus. If you get, I'm just going to use their last names from now on. If you get Cooks, and then you also get Donovan McNabb's mom, then you got a lot of firepower.
You got a lot of
Calorie-wise. Sean, I
There's
think
something to be
Sean's
said
team
for
is
that.
up. Sean's team is up here.
All right, so I'm back to the turn at round 6 and 7. And now my roster is looking pretty good, I think. I have Le'Veon Bell, Lamar Miller, Terrell Pryor, Devontae Adams, and Gronk. So I'm looking to fill my flex spot and probably my first bench spot. So I'm looking at a couple different wide receivers and running backs here. I think I'm going to go with one guy that has probably the more upside than anyone else here. I know Scott's probably not going to like this pick, but Tyreek Hill. I think, he's a solid flex player. He's a guy that can win you your week from the flex spot. Yes, he might kill you every week too, but if I play matchups with him, I think he could be a nice weapon for my team.
And he's the de facto wide receiver 1 there now. Not Jeremy Maclin left in the offseason.
All right, so now I'm looking at a couple different options that I don't love. I'm going to be honest. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and look at some guys that are starting on some very good offenses here. Let's see. Here we go.
I know who you're going with.
I'm actually not going to take him because I think I'm going to keep him to myself. I don't want to give out too much good advice here. But this is a guy that, if he hits, will be huge. Martavis Bryant easily could be a wide receiver too. He's got a ton of upside. And I think in that offense, again, opposite Antonio Brown, he, again, could really fill in there. I feel more confident in my running backs, which is why I went with 2 wide receivers there, because I might need to rotate these wide receivers a little bit, especially if Adams doesn't hit like I think he will. So I'd like to have more options there. Now I don't have to worry about wide receiver for a little bit.
Yeah, and like my team, same thing. Like wide receivers, I have Odell, Michael Thomas, and Allen Robinson. So I don't have to worry about wide receiver. I'm going to take like 2 upside guys in like rounds 13 and 14. So now I can worry about running backs, get a good QB and a good tight end.
He rushed. He didn't like that pick.
I was talking too much there, and I didn't have enough time. I picked.
He hates
Who'd you get?
I picked C.J. Anderson on the Denver Broncos running back. So to me, like we've every single year, it seems like everyone always talks him up that he's going to be the bell cow back there. He has top 10 potential, good offensive line, and he never does it. He always gets hurt. But Devontae Booker is now hurt a little bit. Jamal Charles, who's on that roster as well, is only a change of pace back at this point in his career. So I feel like C.J. Anderson, if any year he could have a good year, it could be this year. And I got him at a good value there. I already have three running backs that I could start. So now he's like my flex filling guy.
Do you think there's room for Jamal Charles and C.J. Anderson to have relevance? I think there might be.
Yeah, I could see it, but I don't think it'll happen. Like I could see a 10% chance that'll happen.
Guys, I need help. The last person I picked was my flex.
Yes, so now you're looking to fill in your bench spots or possibly... Nah, you don't want to reach for a QB.
Well, all
here.
I have is our running backs, wide receivers, and QBs, so I need a tight end, right?
You don't have to reach if there's no one you like. Again, you have 2 picks here, so if you want one, you might as well take one
I
now.
have 9 seconds. Oh, my God.
All right, so don't rush. You got plenty of time on the next pick.
That's the biggest thing, too. Listeners, don't rush your picks.
Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Kyle Rudolph. That's a good pick.
You filled in your tight end, and now you can pick the best player available. That's what I would do.
I'm just read.
All right, so I'll just go with Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
Ooh. Controversial.
Very
Yeah,
controversial
why? What's
figure.
wrong with him?
Oh, yeah.
He had a lot of off-season issues. No, not off-season.
In college, he had a lot of issues. Got himself kicked off his college
mixing
team.
with the wrong crowd?
Oh, that's a good one.
I think Rob's taking players just so he can make puns with this.
We had,
which honestly happens more than you'd think.
Yeah, we had too much coffee, too.
Yeah, that was way too much.
But anyway, let me read
freaking out
Rob's
right
team to the viewers. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay QB. Devontae Freeman, Atlanta running back. Ty Montgomery, Green Bay running back. Jordy Nelson, Green Bay wide receiver. You have a lot of Packers on your team.
All right.
Brandon Cooks,
Probably
New
not
England
good.
wide receiver. Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota tight end. Spencer Ware, Kansas City running back. Those are all your starters right now. And then you have defensive kicker still, which you're not taking until the last 2 picks.
Okay.
And then one of your bench guys is now Joe Mixon, Cincinnati running back.
If you're going to pick a lot of players from the same team, you might as well make it the Packers.
Yeah.
I
Because-
like a guy with a little bit of risk.
When the Packers have a good week, you're going to win your week for fantasy. So it's not a bad strategy, and they're going to win their week more than often than you think. They're going to be a very good team this year. So I like this team a lot. Here comes Scott's pick. We're now in round 8 for reference, and this is where you can really take some nice risks, really make some nice picks here because a lot of people miss in these rounds.
Yeah, and these are, if you pick the diamond in the rough in like rounds 7 to 9, these guys can pop and become a top 10 player. You saw Allen Robinson 2 years ago. He was under the radar, picked him in like round 8, and he was a top 10 wide receiver. So I went with Mike Gillislee, New England running back. He's going to take over that spot for LeGarrette Blount, who left in free agency.
That's a nice
and
pick.
he's the number 1 running back there. There's a lot of inconsistency with New England's running game, but he's the number 1 guy. And now I have 5 solid running backs that I could play weekly matchup game with.
I'm going to take now I'm up. I got the 8-9 turn here. I just talked a lot about how I have my 4 wide receivers. Now it's time to take some running backs, and there's 2 here, luckily, that I really like. So I'm going to take Paul Perkins. We talked about him a little bit.
Giants running back.
Giants running back coming into a nice situation there. For me, I'm drafting scheme and opportunity more than talent because I don't know too much about him as a player, honestly.
None of us do, really, yeah.
But I think he's in a really good spot, and he could be a pretty good breakout guy. This next guy, Amir Abdullah.
Oh, nice pick.
He's a nice post-type sleeper. Last year, he got a lot of love. The Lions' offense was really good last year. He just was hurt and not playing well. So, again, he could wind up, he has a running back 2 ceiling, I think. He could be a really good player. More likely he won't reach it. But, again, I'll take a flyer there, no doubt.
Absolutely. I think that's a solid upside pick there. And now I'm in a weird spot where I don't like anyone that I see on my screen in front of me. But I don't have any tight ends or quarterbacks. And I'm at round 9 right now, and I have like 4 of each, basically, or 5 running backs, 3 wide receivers. So this is where you can start looking at some upside quarterbacks and tight ends, and that is what I'm going to do.
You'll notice that we waited a long time as opposed to Rob to take a quarterback. If you're not going to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or maybe Matt Ryan, Drew Brees early,
Yeah.
if you're not going to take a top quarterback, you got to wait because it's so deep this year.
Until about round 8 or 9, right?
Yeah, it's maybe even later,
And
maybe
those,
11.
Those tweener guys, let's just talk about that a little bit. Those like tweener guys like Russell Wilson and even Matt Ryan, I would group him in there. Cam Newton, those guys you want to wait until like round 9 or 10. You let one of your friends take them in round 6. But Aaron Rodgers, one of those top tier guys, or Tom Brady or Drew Brees, you could take at round 6 and feel good about it.
So who do you go with there, Scott?
So I went with Zach Ertz there. High upside Philadelphia Eagles tight end. To me, he has top 10 potential, and now with the full offseason and that passing game looking to rebound big time with like Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith opening up the field, there's going to be a ton of work for him in the middle of the field, and Carson Wentz is going to take a next step forward, and LeGarrette Blount's going to fill that offense out. So Zach Ertz was a little bit of a stretch there, like a little bit of a early pick there to take him, but now my roster's a little bit more filled out.
So now
All right.
Rob's up again. Here we go.
I'm going to go with a wild card here. I'm going to go with Coleman because
Corey Coleman.
Coleman grills. I'm just going to have a whole team full of cooks.
Remember, you're up again after this.
You got a lot of
Okay.
calorie
Wait,
picks.
what the fuck? I thought I picked
you
him.
didn't press him in time.
Press it.
I did.
Take the auto pick off
Wait.
your phone now.
Wait. Disable auto pick.
Oh, no.
Oh,
You already took
no.
2 picks. No.
I picked Coleman. I pressed the...
Just
Let's
make
see, who do you wind up with
Jesus.
instead? Oh, he wound up with Kenny Britt and Cameron Meredith. 2
Not
guys
bad.
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to, be too harsh on you right now, but I think Kenny Britt is going to have a much better year than Coleman anyway. They're on
I
the
was
same
thinking
team.
that. I was going to pick Britt, but I wanted Coleman because of the name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's heartbreaking, man. He might still be around for you next round. We'll see.
Oh, well.
So I'm at these rounds 7 to 10.
They're flying by because of these auto picks.
Flying by, but also like the running backs and wide receivers they don't have as nearly as much upside. So I usually stay away from them, and I fill up the roster. So I get quarterbacks, tight ends, because that's a little early for some of them too. So right now I'm looking at I'm looking at Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr
I'll take whichever one you don't take. Hopefully they'll still be there for me. Oh my God, Carr.
I went with Derek Carr, Oakland Raiders quarterback. Now the highest
Why
paid
didn't you
player
pick
in the
Johnson
NFL.
Jr.?
Who? Oh, I've had him before. Duke Johnson Jr. on Cleveland.
Team Johnson Jr.
I know, yeah. No, I don't want him ever
Missed
again.
opportunity there with the names.
He's terrible.
So before I have to make my pick here, I'm going to take Kirk Cousins with this next pick, but I'll let the clock run so we have some time to breathe here. These picks are flying by because most people in a mock draft will go on auto pick. In your league, these rounds tend to drag on because people don't know what they want to do here. They're kind of reading and reacting. Not a bad idea to when the draft's at the other end to take stock of who's there, who's been picked, what you need. Really set your plan up for the second half of the draft because this is where you win your draft, right? You're not going to lose your draft here because you're not counting on these guys to start unless you're taking a quarterback like I just did.
Right.
But if you like a guy with upside, make sure if you want to reach for him, maybe a round, it's not the worst idea in the world. All right, so I just went with Kirk Cousins there. I really needed a quarterback, so I got it done. Now I'm looking to really just take the best player available here. There's definitely some good options. Let's take a look. Right now I'm between John Brown, Kareem Hunt, and Jonathan Stewart. I think I'm going to take Jonathan Stewart just because I'm not sold that Christian McCaffrey is going to be an every down back for Carolina.
I don't think he is.
I think Stewart's got some sneaky value this year.
Okay, and now I'm up again after those quick auto picks. Recap of my team, what I have one quarterback, 5 running backs, 3 wide receivers. I haven't taken a wide receiver since like round 4, and 1 tight end. So quarterback and tight end, I'm good for now. Running back, I'm set. Todd Gurley, Isaiah Crowell as my starters, and then I have Eddie Lacy, C.J. Anderson, and Mike Gillislee as my bench guys. So I'm going with Devontae Parker, Miami Dolphins wide receiver, who was supposed to have a good year last year, swung and missed completely, but a new offseason to get fully healthy. Hopefully Ryan Tannehill is back healthy again.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know. We'll see. But they have Matt Moore still, who's a solid backup.
Very solid.
Who can get the ball to Devontae Parker. But I think he'll be that's another upside guy. Because I have 3 really solid wide receivers, now I just got Devontae Parker really late, and he has upside there too.
And you're not counting on him. That's the key.
Exactly. Not starting him.
And if he emerges as a maybe a flex guy wide receiver too, then you got a nice steal right there.
I learned last year after I started him in my flex and had him as my starter in the flex guy.
All right. I'm almost back up again, but I don't even know. How do I see who's on my team?
You go to your picks at the bottom, and
Where's
you click
that?
on my team. The bottom, second to the right.
Also, a good idea if you're gonna mock draft, you got to make sure you know the app. No, I'm not talking shit
Oh,
to you.
yeah,
I'm
I
talking
get
to the
it,
listeners. You have to like know the ins and outs of the app, so you're not fumbling during your actual draft.
I'm definitely not ready for this. I don't have a picks tab.
Yeah, it's on the
I
bottom.
just press it for you.
Oh, Rogers.
Now, when you wanna
I
go
have
back
a bunch
to your-
of running backs, I have wide receivers, and I have 1 tight end.
Now you can click the position limits
I'm gonna go with
on the right side. Click that button, and you can see the what position and how many people you've picked in each of those positions.
position limits.
For
Gotcha.
running backs and wide receivers, I believe it's 8 in a standard league.
I'm
so
gonna take
you
another
can
tight
You
end,
can
I
load
think.
up. Ooh,
Is
that's
it
bold.
normal to take another quarterback?
As a backup.
You have Rodgers, so you might want to. You can wait. You
I
can
definitely don't
honestly-
want Roethlisberger because he's a. I'm gonna take. Shit. I
Don't
want
worry.
somebody from the Giants. I'm taking Shepard.
Okay, he's injured already, but
Oh no,
We got good news out of his camp. It's nothing like
it's
great.
nothing serious.
He's a
Nothing
tight
broken.
end, right?
No, he's a wide receiver.
Oh shit.
Remember, you're up again.
All right.
It's not a bad pick if he could stay healthy. Sterling Shepard, this late in round 12 or 11.
Another year of rapport with Eli. It's not the worst choice in the world there.
I'm gonna go with.
I'm
Oh,
very interested
God.
to see who he picks here. Let's see.
I'm scrolling.
Round
I know
12,
it's a
pick
bad
1,
idea,
just an
but
update.
12 seconds.
These are the rounds where there's a lot of guys that are not going to really do what they're supposed to do. If you hit right here, you're going to be sitting pretty. So again, don't be afraid
Hunt.
to take
I'm
some
just gonna
upside
take
here.
Hunt.
That's
a good
huge
pick.
upside.
It's a great pick.
especially because he's got Spencer Ware.
I wanted to tell. See, there you go. You did a
All
really
right.
good pick there.
All right, good.
Kareem Hunt, running back on Kansas City Chiefs, is like one of the best handcuffs to Spencer Ware. Spencer Ware doesn't have the talent level to really like keep that job all year. I don't think. Kareem Hunt is a 3rd round pick, and he has the potential to start in that backfield.
Did you say Cream Hunt?
Kareem,
Oh,
not Kareem.
Oh.
something about the food.
I had a lot of Kareem in my coffee before.
Something about the food thing today. I don't know.
All right.
Team Johnson backup.
Round 12, pick 6.
How many rounds are there?
There's 16 rounds.
Oh, okay.
The last 2 are reserved for QBs and defenses, so it's really 14.
Gotcha.
Because those rounds you're really just kind of picking someone and then you change it week to week. At least I do personally. I see which kicker's getting hot, which defense looks good the first couple weeks, and then you pick them up. Some people will take a very good defense or kicker early, maybe a round early. I could get behind that. If you really like Justin Tucker or Dan Bailey, maybe take them the round before you're supposed to, and then just take a flyer on a guy late. That's okay. But if you're gonna take a defense or kicker earlier than like round 12, no, or even round 13,
Just don't.
You're wasting your time. Don't worry about it.
Just a really quick before you get into what you're going to pick now. I picked Tyrell Williams, Los Angeles Clipper. Sorry. Los Angeles Charger wide receiver. There's a lot of rumors out of their camp that Mike Williams, their 7th overall pick, their first round pick, might be out for the season. And Tyrell Williams took that wide receiver core over when Keenan Allen went down last year and has now a ton of upside. He could be the number one guy there because Keenan Allen still a little shaky health-wise.
This episode of Unqualified is sponsored by
Pennyweather. Need someone to up the ante for you and your friendly disagreement? Pennyweather is guaranteed to end the dispute for only $3.99 apiece. Or make that goddamn friend disappear. Pennyweather works in the shadows. Only accepts $2 bills as payment. $half are also acceptable. No. I retract that statement. You're going to be paying me 1 penny too much always. That's why they call me Pennyweather. Pennyweather. No more fighting. Just disappearing.
All right, so now I'm at my turn here. I'm going to take Jameis Winston as my second quarterback to pair with Kirk Cousins. I don't know if I'm going to love playing Kirk Cousins every week. Jameis is a huge breakout candidate this year. He honestly might end up in the MVP discussion if they have a good year, which is crazy because it's so early in his career. So I got a ton of upside there with that pick. And now, again, I'm going to go upside. This is a guy I've been hyping up since the very first thing we talked about on our first pod, Jamal Charles. Like I said, when you picked CJ Anderson, I said Jamal Charles, I think he's going to have some relevance. I think he has maybe a low-end RB2, high-end flex ceiling. So he's not going to be the same player he was, but he's so talented. So if he can stay somewhat healthy this year, he could be a difference maker.
Let's look up how old he is.
I don't know. I would have gone with Macklin.
Jeremy Macklin.
Macklin cheese.
You're really going for the food today, huh?
Food theme. That's my team.
All right, so another strategy here, if you take a tight end that has upside but has a low floor, like Zach Ertz, for example, who could
30.
put, he's 30, okay. It's not a bad idea to take another tight end that has more upside so you could play the matchup game there. So that might be something I do here, or just go for the most talented player, which to me is Derrick Henry, Tennessee running back.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, so now I'm done with running backs. I have 6 running backs. That's plenty. But DeMarco Murray has only played in all 16 games twice in his career. And I think he's been in the league for 6 years now. So there's the chances are that he's not going to finish the full season. Derrick Henry was a second-round pick 2 years ago. Has a ton of talent who could really take that backfield over.
And he's humongous.
Yeah, and fast, too.
Huge.
That's some name.
Jamal Rashad Jones Charles.
Jamal Rashad
30
Jones
years old.
Charles.
I will say this about him, though. He didn't start out his career as like a feature back, so he's got a little less mileage on him than some of the other guys that are his age. Again, he was beat up last year and never really got going at all. And if he could easily emerge as a starter here. I think CJ Anderson similarly kind of came out of nowhere a couple of years ago. So Jamal Charles has shown when he's healthy, when he's on a team that's running good offense, they're going to be nowhere near where the Chiefs were when he kind of exploded. He could be a pretty fantasy relevant guy, and if I get him in round 12,
yeah, but the issue
is
with him, he's like never. He's the last 2 years he's ended on the IR. He barely has any carries to his name in the last 2 years. So health wise, he's not going to get any. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting any healthier. I just think he's a wait and see guy. Like if he gets 5 carries a game, he'll be lucky in the beginning, the first couple of weeks, and maybe they'll give him 10 a week in the middle of the season, but that's not even enough to be like fantasy relevant to me.
PPR
Staying
though,
away
he
from
catches the ball a ton out of the backfield. I know you're not a fan of him, but this guy is electric. So if he's healthy, I mean, and you'll see it right away. If you see him in week 1 and he looks like he's not the same guy, then you just throw him back to waivers and pick somebody else up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's, those are huge weeks. Weeks 1 and 2 is where you really kill the waivers with, guys that you think could emerge as starters.
Team Diesendorf picked Seattle Seahawks defense and then Eric Ebron right after each other. Eric Ebron, tight end on Detroit Lions. Good picks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'd say with Rodgers, you don't really have to worry about having a second quarterback because if Rodgers gets hurt, you're screwed anyway. And
it's a little early to take a defense there in round 13. I would have waited another round, like 14 or 15.
I figured that, but the other picks didn't look so good, and I'm now realizing I probably should have taken more wide receivers and running backs earlier on.
Yes.
And now I realize my mistakes.
There you go.
But
good
irreversible.
strategy.
The upside, though, of the Broncos defense there is you get to watch Von Miller sack quarterbacks every week.
Seahawks defense.
Seahawks defense.
Well, you get to watch Richard Sherman pick off quarterbacks every week.
And Cliff Averill, sack quarterback.
I gotta say, guys, I'm kind of having some fun here.
It's fun,
I'm
right?
getting excited
It's
for
addicting.
football.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah. Gets the juices flowing.
All right, we're almost down to our last picks here.
I didn't know whether to say that or not. Whatever.
Yeah. Let's keep it food based.
It keeps the orange juices flowing.
Good.
Here we go. Last pick before kicker and defense for you.
All right. This is a tough one. It's always tough in the last 3 rounds. Kickers and defenses, it's like a
Did you
crapshoot.
take your second quarterback yet?
No.
Oh, I know who you're going to take then.
Do you?
Yep. Marcus.
I could get him later.
Wow. Can you?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to take him. This is a good, this spot right here, round 14 is a good spot to take your QB2. I know I took mine a couple rounds ago, but if you take Marcus Mariota, you take, who else is down here? Tyrod Taylor could win you some weeks. Some pretty good value picks.
I went with Marcus Mariota as my last bench guy, who's an incredible player, and he ended the year last year hurt, but looks like he's going to be healthy, and he's a great complement to Derek Carr. If Derek Carr doesn't, if he can't come back healthy, I know I took a big risk on 2 quarterbacks that were hurt last year, but either one of them are gonna do really well this year.
All right, so now with my last positional pick, besides the kicker and defense coming up, I took Gronk in round 2, the end of round 2. So I really want to get another tight end that can at least start for me when he's not playing. So I'm going to take Jack Doyle,
great pick,
Indianapolis. Obviously, I'm a little worried about Andrew Luck being hurt, but Jack Doyle showed last year he's a good red zone threat, and honestly could be a top 10 tight end this season just based on touchdown value alone. So now I get the first choice of kickers and defenses. What do you think is more important? I don't even know.
To be honest, kickers are they're all the same. Kickers are people too. I get it, but they're all going to score around 8 to 12 points a game. And I think you go with the biggest upside for defense. Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with the biggest upside for offense with New England Patriots kicker Stephen Gostkowski. I think they're going to be a juggernaut this year, and he might be kicking extra points as opposed to field goals, but he'll be kicking probably 5 or 6.
Very important designation for defenses too. It's not necessarily the best NFL defense. It's the one that's going to score the most touchdowns, have the most interceptions, have the most sacks. So it's really, you could have a really bad NFL defense like the Eagles 2 years ago, and they were the number 1 defense in fantasy.
Way to generalize those kickers, you bigot.
I took my kicker in my second to last round, which I normally don't do, but the Patriots are going to be so good on offense this year that I think Gostkowski is probably my best option at kicker there.
Yeah, that's where kickers, you look for the best offense that that's gonna get them down the field so they can kick field goals and extra points. I went with Dan Bailey, Dallas Cowboys kicker.
Nice.
That offense is, I think, still going to be pretty good.
And they might struggle in the red zone a little bit if Zeke is going to be suspended.
Which means more field goals, more points.
Honestly, we're going to wind up talking yourself into your kicker and defense anyway, we are right now. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
I'm up next. You guys see any food-based players in the list here?
Well, you already took your defense, so we can't even look right now at anything besides.
I can't take another defense?
You can, if you want.
I mean,
but I'm saying now that the positions are locked for us, so I have to take a defense, he has to take a defense. Yeah, so
at
we
this
can't even
point, I'm not interested in any running backs.
Well, go to your position limits. How many how many people do you have on each position?
He's only got 30 seconds. You're rushing him here.
I don't have a kicker yet.
You should have one bench spot left.
I have one quarterback. Maybe I should take another quarterback.
Yeah, it's not a bad spot to do.
Yeah.
Taylor. I'll
Yeah,
take
right,
Taylor.
I like
Good
that
pick,
because
yep.
this guy runs the ball and he's got a very good deep ball. So that's two different elements that make a good fantasy quarterback.
And now we've got all kickers. I'm going to.
In the last 2
Prater.
years, Tyrod Taylor has had at least 600 yards and at least 3,000 yards passing. At least 600 yards rushing and at least 3,000 yards passing. So he has a pretty high floor there too.
Yeah, and yardage is a good indication of a high floor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you picked Matt Prater. That's a great choice.
Good kicker.
Back in the day when Tim Tebow was still a thing in the NFL, there was an SNL skit where, was it Jason Sudeikis? He goes into the locker room and he's like, Matt Prater, I pray to you. Because he hits like 58-yard field goals. He's got a
Well,
huge
I
intellect.
like that.
in Denver he did because the air is a little thinner.
Good.
But I think he still does. Well, he's in a dome now in Detroit, but
with a good offense. He's with Detroit,
Right.
who put up a lot of points. They're not the best NFL team, but they have a very good offense.
yeah, Stafford's gunslinger.
All right, so now we're looking at our defenses here.
I don't like any of them.
I mean, you just take one and you see who has a good week one. That's what I do. If a team looks good on D that came out of nowhere week one, you just you pick them up and you're set.
Yep, and then
Or you just play matchups.
Oh, I hate all of them.
There's a couple I like.
I might go with a weird pick here. No, never mind. I'm going with the Panthers. They have the most talent on defense. They have Luke Kuechly, BC guy, Boston College guy.
Wait,
All right.
there's a kicker named Kuechly?
No,
He's a linebacker.
He's on the defense.
He should be a kicker.
I went with the Panthers.
This one's a homer pick for my brother, Ryan Brady, friend of the pod. I'm picking the Eagles D here. He's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. They have a very, very good defensive line. You know, the secondary is a little suspect, but they're going to sack the quarterback. And my favorite part of this, I get Darren Sproles returning punts.
Oh, yeah, good. That's a good call. That's defense / special teams, so special teams counts.
If there's a defense here with a good return guy, it's him alone. That position alone might be worth a couple of touchdowns during the year.
Like last year, we saw the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill
Yep.
as a kick returner. He's not going to be a kick returner this year, though. They took him off those duties to
Smart move.
keep him healthy. But yeah, that's an important pick. All right, so draft is officially over. Let's go down the line here. Name our picks. Why, some noteworthy guys. So I'll go first. Quarterback, I have Derek Carr as this is my starters first. Quarterback, Derek Carr. Two running backs are Todd Gurley from the Los Angeles Rams and Isaiah Crowell from the Cleveland Browns. Wide receivers are Odell Beckham, New York Giants, and Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints. Tight end is Zach Ertz from the Philadelphia Eagles. My flex guy is Allen Robinson, Jacksonville Jaguars. Defense is a Panthers defense, and then kicker is Dan Bailey, Dallas. So pretty solid, well-rounded team here. If I do say so myself.
I will say I love the wide receivers. I'm a little bit scared about the running backs.
Yeah,
I would
that's,
be.
That's the only knock right here.
I would be. That's my only hesitation with this team. I love Carr. Obviously, we're going to get to him a little bit, in the pods in the next couple of weeks. But I really like him this year. He's got some good targets. He should be. He should end the year as a top 10 quarterback. Gurley and Crowell scare me, as I mentioned, but oh my God, Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas doesn't get much better as a 1-2 combo at wide receiver.
And Robinson in the flex too.
Yep.
And the thing that I did here was I loaded up certain positions like wide receiver, quarterback. I'm pretty set on. Tight end I'm good with. The only knock on the team is running backs. And what I did was in the bench spot I have 4 solid guys that I can plug and play. So Eddie Lacy on Seattle Seahawks, C.J. Anderson on Denver Broncos, Mike Gillislee on New England, and Derrick Henry. They all have high upside, and one of those guys is probably going to be a top 20 guy. So I can always plug in if Todd Gurley or Isaiah Crowell are struggling, plug one of those guys in. So it's all about high upside with your bench. So
yeah, I'll say when I'm filling out my bench, I'm always thinking, can I flex this guy? Is this guy flex worthy? There's not a guy here on your bench that's not flex worthy week to week. Even Derrick Henry, you could get away with him as your flex if he's playing a bad run defense because he just is so good. If he gets 5 to 10 carries, he could wind up being flex worthy.
Yeah.
When I'm putting a guy on my bench, I'm thinking, can this guy make a good chicken parm? Is he able to make some lasagna that's going to satisfy the crowd?
Well,
He's not going to burn the place
Brandon
down.
Cooks.
I got Brandon Cooks. I wish I had
Kareem Hunt.
Donovan McNabb's mom with the Campbell soup.
Who took over that role? Cam is the chunky soup guy now,
I
right?
think
I don't
Cam
know.
is. Yeah,
Cam Newton.
Cam Campbell. Campbell.
All right, so let's look at Rob's team before we get to mine.
Sure.
You want to read it out? Or you want
Yeah,
me to
sure.
read it?
I'll read it.
we
Hopefully, I
go.
get their names right. My quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Running back, D. Freeman. Other running back, Montgomery. Wide receiver, Nelson. Wide receiver, Cooks. Tight end, Rudolph. Flex is Ware. And then Seahawks defense, kicker is Prater. What's
Man.
BE?
Bench.
That's the
Those are
bench.
your bench
So we'll
guys.
start.
Okay,
We'll
then-
start with the starters.
Yeah, let's talk about the starters first.
I'll go first. I will say that you are top heavy here. So I like Freeman a lot. I like Nelson a good amount. I think he'll be a safe wide receiver 1. He might be a lower end wide receiver 1. But again, he's pretty good week to week. And then Brandon Cooks, I love as a wide receiver 2. I think he's got a ton of upside. Playing with Tom Brady, I think he's gonna have a huge year.
He does cook.
Yeah, I think the running backs that you have here are all going to, in the beginning of the year at least, get the lion's share of the carries. Spencer Ware in Kansas City, Ty Montgomery in Green Bay, Devontae Freeman in Atlanta. They do have committees, but you're banking on the upside there for those guys and the amount of carries they're getting. But yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is far and away the best quarterback, so you'll get probably 2 or 3 more points per week than anyone else in the league.
Good.
And you have some pretty good plug-and-play guys in wide receiver and running back. So I think it's a pretty solid team.
You're a little bit thinner at running back than you are at wide receiver.
Yeah.
I know we don't love Mixon. Again, we mentioned in the first pod as a person or a player. I actually don't think he's a minus player. I think
I think he'll be good. Actually,
what he does for the Bengals is he takes what Jeremy Hill does, he takes what Giovanni Bernard does, and he puts them in one player.
Yeah.
He's more of an all-around back than both those guys, so I would not be surprised if by the end of the year he's their starter. And again, he's got that upside.
I actually think I think he has a good chance of starting that at the running back in that position in the beginning of the year.
Wow.
Too. I don't think they want Jeremy Hill to be their running back that much longer. Plus, they're also Giovanni Bernard is hurt, and also Jeremy Hill is a little hurt too. I think maybe. So Joe Mixon has a chance to be the starter there right away.
I mean, from my completely unprofessional perspective, just from a logistics perspective, I feel like I'm a run game guy, so I'm kind of disappointed with my running back picks because I feel like, tell me if this is right or wrong, but I feel like investing in better running backs would be a better strategy.
It is.
Yeah.
There's less downside because there's less turnovers, like interceptions and stuff. Like if you're investing a lot in wide receivers, who knows?
Yeah. So the scoring is like totally different with
how-
quarterbacks and running backs. Like they don't penalize as much for the interceptions for quarterbacks and the fumbles don't matter as much because they could score so many more points throwing
Yeah.
it.
But what
with
happens
touchdowns.
if somebody throws an interception? What happens to your team point wise?
-2?
Your quarterback is minus
get
2.
in
-2.
standard leagues it's -2, and a fumble is -2 for running backs and quarterbacks. But the upside for the quarterback is that they could score, and they typically will score like 20 points,
Is there
which is like a
difference
very
in
good
points, but depending on how it's scored, like if you run it into the end zone or if you get a
They're both
pass?
6, but I will say this
Yeah.
about running backs. The reason that running backs are such a premium is they touch the ball more than wide receivers do.
league. Right.
Right.
A good week for a wide receiver, a very good week actually, would be like 10 catches.
How else can you score points other than touchdowns?
Yards.
Yards, yeah.
So a running back can technically get more yards than a wide receiver if he's touching the ball more, right?
Yeah, wide receiver, they'll typically have more yards per play than a running
Yeah.
back, so they'll have, a typical catch, a nice run-of-the-mill catch will be like a, 10-yarder.
Yeah,
Whereas a running back, an average run would be like 4 yards.
right.
But the running backs get the ball more because
Right.
it's more efficient for, it's safer than throwing.
Yeah, so they're slightly more consistent then.
Right.
Yes.
Should be. So like a good week for a running back on average is probably 20 carries. You're carrying the ball 20 times with 100 yards and a touchdown. So 100 yards is 10 points. It's 1 point per 10 yards received or carried. And then a touchdown is 6. So that'll be 16 points for that week for that running back, which is
Plus, if he catches the ball, it's a little bit of a bonus.
right.
True.
So they have the ability to
So if
catch
you
it
get a
as
running back that's good at catching, then that's a
like
double.
Le'Veon Bell that he did first overall.
Exactly.
He's like basically a
Freeman catches
second,
the ball too, so you have that upside there. Freeman is
Okay.
an all-around back.
basically a second
Good.
wide receiver almost, yeah.
Good. More for me and you.
David Johnson is also a very good catcher out of the backfield.
All right, so let's go through the rest of Rob's bench really quick before we move to my team. I'll let you read it out. Why not?
Sure. On my bench, I have Mixon, Britt, Meredith, Shepard, Hunt, Ebron, and Taylor.
Solid backups for the tight end and quarterback that are perfect for a bye week fill and when Aaron Rodgers and Kyle Rudolph are on their buys. Running back, you have a good handcuff in Kareem Hunt, which you always want to do with running backs that are a little riskier like Spencer Ware. And then wide receivers, you have potential number one guys like Kenny Britt and Cameron Meredith that can help you in bye week fill-ins too.
Yeah, I think those guys are both like flex ceiling guys, but they're going to be the top targets on their teams. So you can't go wrong with that. They're going to get a ton of targets.
Yeah.
All right.
Good picks for choosing like food names at first.
Yeah, I think the food strategy is the way to go for me.
The 10 pick too. Yeah, that's true. That's a tough pick, 10.
All right, let's get into my team. This is the last team we're going to go through here. I'll read out my starters first. I have Kirk Cousins as my quarterback. Le'Veon Bell as my running back 1. Lamar Miller, running back 2. Terrell Pryor Sr., wide receiver 1. Devontae Adams, wide receiver 2. Gronk, tight end. And Tyreek Hill at the flex at the moment. With the Eagles defense and Gostkowski.
That's pretty solid.
Did you just burp?
Yeah. No, I went away from the mic.
I heard like...
No, did you hear it? Shit. Sorry. Shit.
It's okay.
So this team, for me, I'll give you like a little my insight.
Give it to me straight.
Running backs, top notch. Le'Veon Bell and Lamar Miller are two like the epitomes of running back 1 and a running back 2. Right? They both have high floors. Lamar Miller's is a little lower, but the upside there for both of them is incredible. The wide receivers, Terrell Pryor has a really high ceiling, so that means or upside. I'm sorry, high upside. He can be a top 10 wide receiver. The fear there is that he's a one-hit wonder. So last year he had over 1,000 yards, but he hasn't done it. That was the first time he did it. Devontae Adams, he's had some bad years too when we thought he should have good years. So another one where you're hoping to get the most out of him. Same with Tyreek Hill. So wide receivers are a little risky, but
I agree.
The backups that you have are pretty solid. Martavis Bryant. That's the only backup you have. Wide receiver. A little risky with wide receivers there.
I'll wind up picking one up if I need it.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, overall good team. Gronkowski is a big risk there, but he could carry your team there.
What I'm counting on with Gronkowski real quick, this is what you're really hoping for if you draft a Rob Gronkowski in your league. You're hoping that you get low-end wide receiver 1 production and your tight end spot, which no one else in the league is going to get outside of maybe a couple weeks of Kelsey or Jordan Reed. But they don't do it as consistently as Gronk does when he's healthy. So if you wind up getting more tight end value out of Gronk than other players do, you have that leg up already at the position.
And because you took Jack Doyle in the second to last pick or third to last round, you can play both of those guys. If Jack Doyle becomes a top 10 tight end and Gronk is healthy,
Gronk's my flex,
and all those guys are becoming better than all your wide receiver backups, then Gronk's your flex or Jack Doyle is your flex. So that's a really good strategy. If you only have 4 wide receivers, take another tight end that has a really high upside and play both.
You got anything to add over there?
Yeah, anything?
I just blacked out.
We had a little bit too much coffee here today. Let me add this. I'm looking at this now, and I don't love that I went so running back heavy. I just saw so much value in these guys. So I wound up taking on my bench. We mentioned my starters. I have the 3 wide receivers. I have Hill as my flex right now. Martavis Bryant, which you mentioned, who I really like upside this year. Then I went Paul Perkins, Amir Abdullah, Jonathan Stewart, Jameis Winston, Jamal Charles, and Jack Doyle. So I took 4 backup running backs there. So now I have 6 running backs on my roster.
Same as me. 2
QBs and 2 tight ends. And I only have 4 wide receivers. So the reason I went so heavy on running back is because I just loved the value. When I was in round 12, I liked Jonathan Stewart. When I was in round 11, I loved Amir Abdullah. They just kind of stood out to me more than the other guys. I think, I'm not really counting on these wide receivers to be no doubt starters with Pryor and Adams and Hill and even Bryant. So I'm kind of going to have to play matchups with them a little bit if this team is a real team. But I think you can find value later in the year and on the waiver wire with wide receivers. You can't really find it with running backs. That's why I went so heavy.
Love it. Good strategy there. 3 different strategies. 3 potential winners in this league. Pretty solid.
Yeah. I don't want to talk trash, but I think I may have a shot here.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
The negative side of mock drafts is now they go away.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this team like ever.
I am still going to use the food strategy when I go into the real thing, though.
Brandon Cooks, second round.
Brandon Cooks, yeah.
Anybody who's got, if your name
Cream
is...
Hunt.
Yeah. Cream of corn, Cobb.
Randall Cobb. You could have taken Randall
Corn
Cobb.
on the Cobb.
Should have.
That was my team name one year. Bad year for me, but good team name.
Burger. I'm not going to pick him ever. I know about him.
Hackenberg.
I know his shit.
Yeah.
I know what he's talking.
Honestly, fantasy as a player, we'll just get into real quick since you mentioned him. He's one of the guys that has a ton of upside, but he's never really come through on it. There's 1 year that he was, I think, was he even top 5 that year? And it was all because of a couple of huge weeks, kind of like the Emmanuel Sanders factor that we talked about.
Yeah. He's never in the last 8 years he's become a top 10 quarterback. I think twice or 3 times, but he's always drafted as a potential one. So I would stay away from Roethlisberger, fantasy wise.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to our mock draft. We want to hear your feedback. If you think one of us really screwed the pooch here, let us know.
Probably me.
We're looking forward to hearing it. We really are. We love interacting with you guys through any means with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even just the old-fashioned email. All right, send us the snail mail if you really want to. We'll receive a letter now and again.
You can even send us a message on Facebook, and we're going to add a phone number that you can call us through or text us. And if you have any food-based named players, definitely let me know on
Give us
Twitter.
your top 10. Give us
let
your
me
top
know
10.
on
The
Facebook.
food top 10.
Send
food
me
names.
an email. Send me a Snapchat. Follow us at Unqualified FF everywhere.
That works out perfectly.
Yeah.
Because I think the next pod we release after this is going to be our top 10s. So if you send in your top 10 food fantasy football player names.
Yeah.
We'll rate them.
Twister. We'll rate them. We'll craft our own list, for the whole podcast. We'll come together for one top 10 food name list.
Yep.
And we'll add that to our top 10 pod. We'll put it right at the end.
Yeah.
Love
Maybe we can collectively fuel my team this season. Just with food players.
Rob's going to outsource his teams this year. He's
I think I'm going to
rely on the listeners.
I'm going to crowdsource the power of the world into my fantasy football team, and then you guys will realize what it's like to play against somebody who knows what they're doing.
Or a whole world that knows what they're doing.
Well, big gulps.
Oh, thanks for listening.
Big gulp.
See you later.
Well, see you later.